to Dale's podcast.
So in this podcast, we'll be interviewing and sharing the stories of successful entrepreneurs and business owners for entrepreneurs all around the world.
So we wanted to start our first episode with introducing ourselves, who we are, what we do, when we started. So Vickie, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so my name is Vickie Holtzgrew. I am a real estate agent here in Houston, Texas. I got licensed right out of high school. I did my courses during senior year, so I got licensed at the age of 18, and I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, which is kind of insane. I definitely specialize on the listing side of real estate, so selling. And yeah, that's what I do. So, Briana, if you want to tell us what you do.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Briana Rodriguez. I am a beauty professional here in Houston. I own my own salon suite. I also dive into the education side of it. So I teach girls how to start their beauty businesses by teaching them how to do lash extensions, how to do brows. Same thing like you. I went into high school. I started when I was 18. I've been doing this for a little bit more over 2 years now. But I started when I was super young because I was able to license myself with cosmetology through the state through high school. So that was the great part of it. Ever since then, I just been networking, connecting, getting myself out there, putting my name out there. And yeah, I've been loving it. I'm now in the process of getting my real estate license.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I usually add that in, but it's a little bit about what I do. So I'm like juggling school and business at the same time right now.
Yeah. Life of an entrepreneur.
Life of an entrepreneur, literally. I also wanted to go into the challenges that we faced. I know both you and I have started at a really young age, but I think our challenges might be a little bit different than other people, but some we can still relate to just in entrepreneurs in general. So I don't know if you want to go first.
About my challenges that I've...
Yeah.
Okay,
so first for the challenges.
Man, I could talk forever about this, but I would definitely say my biggest challenge, and I think this just comes with age, but no one really tells you about, and we've talked about this so many times, but no one really tells you about going straight from high school and like going into work. Like it's always going from high school, going to college. Like that's a stereotypical way of doing things. And no one tells you how hard it is to basically not go to college and go straight into work and starting your own business or whatever it is. I've definitely struggled with that. You know, after you graduate, you get like a summer and you want to break because you've worked so hard for like all these years that you've been in school. But it's kind of hard to know when to end that break, like that summer break essentially, like because for college you actually like your summer ends and then you start your first semester. But then like for those who don't go to college, it's like, oh shoot, like what do I do now? And it's kind of just like making work for yourself, because as a real estate agent, no one's telling you what to do. Like even though you join a brokerage, you're joining a company, you're not getting leads from them, like unless you join a team, and every team is different, but you essentially have to make the work for yourself. No one's telling you what to do, when to do things. And so you really have to figure out what works for you and settling into a routine. And that's definitely the biggest challenge that I've faced starting my career.
I can relate. Same thing too. Sometimes after high school, like you said, it's hard to notice if you're taking a break or if your break is too long.
Right.
So I think for me, whenever I went into entrepreneurship, my whole thing was I thought I needed to know everything. The minute I signed up for an LLC, or the minute I signed up to say, okay, now I'm only working for myself full time, or even when I was doing it part time, I was still in a part-time job, and then I was working from home and taking clients. It really kind of confuses you because you feel like you need to know everything. And I go to schools now and I teach students, and I talk to students before kind of like going into the teaching. And I just show them like kind of what I do after the license, after getting my license, what I did. And I've noticed a very similar question being asked, and it's always, how did you know this is what you wanted to do? Kind of, were you always sure about this from a young age?
Yeah.
What are the challenges? And people want to know, how bad are the lows to see if it's worth the reward
Yeah.
of being a reward of being an entrepreneur. And I think that it's crazy to think about it, because from my standpoint, it's like I just keep moving. Like, you literally just stay, a body of motion stays in motion. And I'm not saying it's the easiest thing, but you would never know until you're doing it yourself. So I think that's
Yeah.
like the gap between whenever I'm trying to teach students and I'm trying to let them know you won't know your certain situation unless you step
Right.
forward and do it yourself. But that is a similar question that I do get asked. And I think some people look at entrepreneurs and they think, oh, they have it all figured out.
It's easy.
And that it's some people know it's not easy, but
Yeah.
they just think that that you have to be a certain person to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
which you do, but it's like going through those challenges, and
You have to train yourself, essentially.
Obviously you turn into a different person. That's how I see it. It's not like you just sign up for an LLC and tomorrow you're like a crazy changed person,
Yeah.
because it is not like, we're still in some of our old habits, but there's a lot of things that we have changed within ourselves through the year. So that's what I would say. It's honestly
Yeah.
a challenge, but it's a good challenge to have. Because all of my lessons I've learned through adversity and like the challenges of being an entrepreneur or trying to balance like life and work. I think that's a big one too.
That's huge.
Because for a while I was trying to figure out what is balance. There is so much talk about being a hustler, making sure you're always working, because that's what puts food on the table. That's what gets your bank account. So,
and that just goes into like settling into a routine, because as an entrepreneur, like, you're figuring out what your business is, how to run it. And if you can't incorporate, you know, your life and family into it, it's just all going to fall apart. So that's an issue that a lot of people will run into, like starting businesses and everything like that, because you can become so distracted and then burnt out at the same time. So definitely work-life balance.
Yep. I think the biggest thing I would say is the best thing we did for ourselves was starting. Like, it was literally taking that
100%.
initiative and being like, okay, I'm just going to start this business, because no matter what, let's say down the line, this is not what you want to do. Down the line, this is not what I want to do. We still have those life lessons that we learned that we can take in any kind of industry that we wanted to go towards. And we're able to kind of just duplicate what we already did and put it into a different, because marketing is the same throughout.
Yeah, that's
It
one
really
thing
is.
that, like, once you start a business, like, every foundation of a business is the same. Like, real estate agent, beauty professional, like, whatever you're doing, like, our foundations are the exact same. So if you can learn from one, you can go to another.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't understand that until they immerse themselves into that and hear other people talk about it and learn from it. So it's always going to be a learning process, but once you know it, you're going to be able to, you know, move those forward to another
and
business.
you won't know until you start. And I think that's another question that I usually get asked, like, how do you know if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Just do it.
First of all, you're not signing like a life like contract where you have to be doing this for the rest of your life. I think that was one thing whenever I started, like 6 months in, I was like, I've spent so much money investing to this business. Do I want to be doing this till the day I die? Like, it's okay to feel that way. Luckily, I pushed through it, and it was really more of like I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it, but it takes time. So now
actually,
I'm at
you're
a place
going to
where,
feel that way.
Exactly.
Too. Like, no matter what, starting something new, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, did I do the wrong thing? Like, I felt like that. I was like, even now, there's some times where I'm like, I just want to quit. I don't want to do it. And it sucks because you can't really talk about it, because then people will lose hope in you or like faith in you, but you're going to want to quit no matter what. Like, even if you have success, because it's always going to be, you know, something challenging.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of like choosing your heart, how they go back and say those things. Like, do you want to work for someone or do you want to work for yourself? Like, you choose your own heart.
It's always
it is
worth
hard working
it
for someone else too.
It's always worth it in the end. But don't think like you're not going to have those moments, you know, of just like wanting to quit, because you might. And so I didn't know if, like, I thought like, man, I picked the wrong career. Like, why did I do this? Like, I regret everything. And you might feel that way, but it's just like pushing past it and realizing, okay, what is my why? Like, why am I doing this? And why did I want to do this in the first place? And bringing yourself back to the center.
Yeah. I also think kind of going into what we have to challenge ourselves with and pushing through it. I think sometimes people can sit in a season and they can just complain about their circumstances. And I'm guilty of it too. Like,
Same.
I've been in some certain seasons where I'm like, nothing's working out in my favor. This is so challenging. But the minute I start to change a little bit of habits here and there, and they start to align more with what I want in the future, that's when I start to see the changes happening. Because in order to change yourself, you have to start changing a little bit of your habits. It sounds so like self-explanatory.
Basic,
yeah, it sounds so basic, but it's through those atomic habits that they all form together and they create something greater, and then they start to create your identity. So the reason why we wake up early in the morning is not because we want to, it's because it aligns with the values we have for our future. So I think that's what's really great about it. And in order to kind of change your life, you have to start with little changes here and there. I saw this one podcast that I think I sent to you, and it was like, what you're not changing, you're accepting. And like, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so true. Because as a business owner, or as anyone, to be honest, because I talk to a lot of my clients and it's the same way. You sometimes sit in these crazy seasons and all you do is complain and worry. And when you complain and worry, you're just going to stay there. I'm not saying to just like have your anxiety and tell it to go away. I'm saying most of the time you get anxiety when you're just sitting still and you're not moving. There's like rarely a time where you're getting anxiety when you're working out. Like it's very rare for that to happen. Or whenever you're doing something towards a big goal. So that's why I always want to keep myself intentionally doing something. Sometimes it's intentionally just sitting down and relaxing, because rest is just as important as hustling and trying to get to the next step. But it's truly that balance, which I haven't gotten down 100%, but the fact that I'm stepping more to it is what's going to help in the long run.
I have a good topic. Is learning the difference between motivation and discipline.
That's true.
Because in the beginning, you're going to have all the motivation in the world, like, let's just say for us, for instance, with this podcast, we were so motivated. The first time we ever talked about it, we're like, we're going to do it. This is something that would be really great for us. And then we film our first episode and then we had to redo it. And then this is our third time filming the first episode. So, things might not always work out. And, this is a perfect example. Things might not always work out the first time, but if you stay disciplined, and, determined, like you're going to do it. So that's another thing, is you're not always going to have motivation. Like this morning, I did not want to wake up and come and do this, but you have to, so.
Exactly. I think it's pretty cool that we came up with this idea too, but when I tell you the enemy has been out to get this podcast.
Oh my gosh. Like, before we started filming this episode.
But I'm so glad that we went through that, because we're able to speak about it here and be like, hey, this wasn't like a cookie cutter thing. Like, we weren't just like, oh my gosh, let's start this perfect thing. And it's still going to be a challenge. Like, and we've talked about it, like on our drives home, we're like, hey, this is like one of the challenges that we're going to get out of like this whole year of filming, or this whole year of going through.
We're like, damn, why is this so hard?
But we're like, okay, we have to see the reward from it, the community that we'll get from it. And we'll just trust that. And we'll trust that God will do the rest. So I think that's the amazing thing about it, is that going back to having a foundation, which for me, it's my faith, and to say like, hey, like this is going to be greater than us at one day. So that is something that I do. I do like to.
So point being is you're not always going to have motivation. It's not always going to be there.
You're not going to know. So. And that's the whole point of a leap of faith. And you're doing a lot of those when it comes to entrepreneurship, but it's really rewarding whenever you kind of get to closer to your end goal, or, just to your yearly goals. Because I think also creating yearly goals, it's a perfect thing that I've looked back at my dream board, which we need to do dream boards this next year.
You mean vision boards?
Yeah, the dream vision boards. I look back and I've done everything except for my last thing is just passing my exam for real estate. But it's very like,
Yeah.
it keeps you reminded of what you're doing things for. So
Yeah.
things like that always help.
Yeah. Well, let's bring it back to our next question.
Our next question is basically talking about how we overcame these challenges. So
Yeah.
the thing of time management, life and work balance, and kind of like going into the unknown. How do you think you challenged those?
I feel like, I mean, every day you're overcoming these challenges. Like, I'm not done overcoming these, and they're always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think something that has helped me was, in the beginning, I felt very alone. Because, like we said earlier, no one's telling you what to do. It's all up to you. You're not going to change your life. I mean, no one else is going to change your life for you. So I think just finding people, and you're not going to find these people right away. Like, Briana was put into my life at the most perfect time, you know? So, like, for me. So I think it's just finding those people along the way and just really trying to train your mindset, because your mind can sometimes defy you. Like,
it can, and it defies your business too.
Yeah.
It's usually like the health of a business comes from the health of someone's mindset
Right.
that owns it.
So sometimes your mindset can completely mess you up and take you off track. So it's training your mindset, telling yourself positive affirmations like, I am enough, I'm on the right track, I need to keep going, you know, and then also like your faith, like whatever you're into. Like for me, it's going back to God and just trusting Him. And recently, I've been focusing on that more, and so many more blessings have been put into my life since then. So it's a lot. It really is.
Yeah.
There's not just one answer to how I'm overcoming these things. It's a mix of answers.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And I love that too, because it's, I mean, the challenges are a lot, but so is all the blessings, and so is all of the lessons that you learn that you take with you. I think a great thing that I always kind of go by as someone who had anxiety for so long in high school or getting out of high school was that life can only be lived forward, but it can always be kind of looked back at and to say, okay, like, what did I learn from this experience?
Yeah.
Or what can I do differently now? And I think sometimes we relive seasons because we're continuing to be our old selves, and it shows that we cannot afford this anymore. And I think a lot of that comes from my faith. Like, you just cannot live backwards, and you'll just stay in the same season for so long if you continue to do that. I know I've gone through a lot of changes since high school. I've had a lot of family members tell me, or my parents in general, where they're like, you know, but I still have a lot of work to do. And I think one of my friends had told me that you can never really say that you've done learning, like that you have been done learning, because there's always something new to learn. That should be more inspiring than kind of telling you, oh my gosh, like I have to learn something else now. Like, I feel like I already need to know everything, but there's just so much information to absorb when it comes to anything in life. And I think for me, my biggest thing has been my faith. So with everything, I take it back to God. And I think that's how I've been able to kind of operate in the things that I've been doing and the adversities that I've been having. I know for a fact my old self would not be would not be sane. I would not be sitting here and I would not be like, oh my God, guys, like you have to get up, early in the morning, work out and journal and read your Bible and pray. I would never have said that in my past, but it's because I'm turning into this new person, and now I know what I can afford sometimes, and sometimes like what is a non-negotiable to me. So I think it's the power of saying yes and no. Who gives me that power is God. And honestly, like when I go back and pray and tell Him, like, hey, this is like what I'm thinking. Is this the right path, or is this not? It usually kind of clears my confusion, and then I'm able to get right back to work without feeling so kind of in the season of like worry and like not knowing. Most of the time you don't know anyway, so kind of just controlling the things that you can and then going off of that. So that's my main thing. It's helped me with everything: business, personal, fitness. Like, you've seen it.
And then it's also
it's
just like not
powerful.
the I have to do this, it's the I get to do this.
Yeah.
Which people hear all the time, but the more you think about it, you're like, damn, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, I get to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I get to move my body.
And you
like...
know, it's so funny. My cousins, they make fun of my sister. She was the one who kind of introduced us to affirmations. And my cousins make fun of her so much because we'll be sitting down eating and they're like, I'm the prettiest in the room. And like, they're like, oh yeah, Amelia like looks in the mirror and it's like, I'm the most beautiful person. And stuff like that. It is so silly. Let me tell you, like these personal development things are so silly. But as you continue to do them, as you continue to do the silly things and allow yourself to be silly, the reward of it is crazy.
And there's so many times Briana has brought me back. She's like, it's over. You can't control it. And I'm just like, oh, filled with rage. And I'm like, shut up. Stop talking to me. But then I'm like, oh, she's right.
Yeah.
Like, I can't control it. Like, the last time we filmed this episode, the audio was not matching with our mouth. And we spent 2 hours. Like, we were here and, you know, I was just really pissed off.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's over. We can't change it. And I'm like, but it's right. So it's like some things you can't control and you just have to let it go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's honestly a blessing to go through some trials too, because we truly learned that this is not going to be easy, but we're still committed to it. And all of the things that we learn, it's not just that, but it's like, you know, it's crazy the things that you go through that teach you so many great lessons in life, and that can be kind of absorbed through anything. And
the most important thing is that you come back, because a lot of people don't come back. And that's why a lot of businesses fail, you know, and people don't do what they say they're going to do is because they don't come back. Yeah. So if you can come back from it the first time, you can come back from it anytime down the road.
Well, the crazy thing is that if we would have stopped at that second episode where you were pissed,
we would not be here today.
This episode is probably one of the best we've actually filmed. Like, let's be so honest. First one, we were getting introduced to the podcast realm. We were kind of like, our setup isn't the best. Yeah. And then the second one, we were messing around with the cameras. Like, we learned so much to now. We're going to put out this, and we're going to feel a lot more confident than the other one.
And it's so much work. Even though it's a podcast, like, it's so much work. Like, they look fun and, you know,
and it is fun.
Simple. It is just fun.
Like, this part is fun. Not the whole, like,
not
logistics, planning, business planning, trying to, like, get out there, let everyone know our name. It is. This is, like, the fun part.
It is.
But it makes it all worth it.
I agree.
And then, obviously, like, the fun part would be, like, when we go into interviewing. So if you want to tell the viewers what to expect for the next episodes.
Okay, well, first I wanted to say we can get a little off track sometimes, especially me when I talk. So my apologies. But yeah, so in later episodes, what you guys can expect from us is we want to have, or we're going to have, entrepreneurs and business owners featured on the podcast. We're going to ask them questions, you know, common questions about business and basically kind of what we talked about, you know, overcoming and the challenges and how they got to where they are in their business today. So we will have special guests. So if you are an entrepreneur yourself and you'd like to share your story, you can fill out our guest form, or if there's anybody that you know or somebody, one of your favorite entrepreneurs that you really want to see and hear their story, direct them to us and have them fill out our guest form, which will be in our description.
So, yeah, guys, we are so excited to continue this journey, as it is stressful and it is so rewarding for us. We just thank you guys for watching. We thank you guys for tuning in, and just a continuation of this. Yes. We hope to see you guys in the future episodes too. So yeah, we cannot wait.
Our second episode, it will be just us. We're gonna go a little deeper into some other topics, and a little bit about what we went into today. So next episode, there will not be an appearance, but that
we
third episode, we got somebody coming,
and
that
we're excited to be announcing that.
Yes,
so
we think you're gonna like it.
Wait.
So,
but yeah, we will see you guys in the next one.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.